sé. Oye, que te digo, sé. Pero hay más en Instagram. Si tú no quieres, bebé, tengo fila hasta 3. No te necesito más. Te crees mucho, lo sé. Oye, que te digo, sé. Pero hay más en Instagram. Te crees más bella de lo que eres, yeah. Pero en el mundo no es que a mujeres más. Me la creía hasta ese día, yeah, que me engañaste. ¿Qué más?
Reciclaba amores y estabas tú. Te necesitaba, ya no fueron tantas flores.
You want it though?
Where do I begin? I see the hate, they don't wanna see me win. Bank deposits, I got more coming in. Top down, throw the money in the wind. I don't want it all. Heard he scammer, had to switch up the accounts. Moving paper, gotta call it my account. It's all in, I can have it coming out. Been through the struggle, I can see another drought.
Yeah, it's not a purse, it's a merch. 6 figures was a goal, now it's 9 or a hearse. Put it work. Used to pull up, now I swerve. No time for the snakes, trying to put them in the dirt, that's word. I gotta get it, it's in my DNA. You only see the highlights, don't know what it takes. Last year stressing, got no sleep. Now I'm right between the courts, out of nosebleed.
I see the hate, they don't wanna see me win. Bank deposits, I got more coming in. Top down, throw the money in the wind. I don't want it all. Heard he scammer, had to switch up the accounts. Moving paper, gotta call it my account. It's all in, I can have it coming out. And through the struggle, I can see another drought.
Yeah, same circles to the same gang. We just get to it, we don't gangbang. Lost some friends to the same thing. Keep a low pro when we maintain. Find us in a lost somewhere, kicking back. Find you on computers, type it Twitter facts.
Hey guys, welcome to the 5 F's to Love. Yep, it's Saturday, so you know what it is. It's the Finance Squad. They're trying to help you get your money right. So listen, guys, you know, it's been an ongoing, continuous conversation about how to really take a different perspective in your mindset in managing your money. You know, and if you miss in the beginning in January, February, March, we really talked about getting your budget together. So everything that we're saying, guys, please go back and click that link, complete your budget, because as you're looking at your budget, you should be applying everything that Forrest Santana and Mordecai are saying to you. These guys are financial gurus. So get your budget together, click that link and complete that Excel spreadsheet and apply all of these things. Folks, it's the mindset. Your financial mindset is what we're working on. So listen, guys, you know we got Forrest. Forrest, I'm going to tell you, I don't know, you know I call you the preacher, right?
I heard.
Okay, I just want to make sure you know, like, that's how I refer to you. So
now you know that's Mordecai, right?
I know it's Mordecai, and that's what I told him last week. Like, Mordecai is actually the preacher, but I refer to you as the preacher. And Santana, to me, he's just like the guy that you don't want to see, honey. He's the guy that's doing your audits and all of that, but he does it in such a great way. I love that he's always smiling, but he always has something great and positive to say, even if you're not in the best situation, right? So I just want to thank you guys, and Mordecai will be joining us later. It's been a great conversation. So 2 things I want to do. I kind of want to make sure that people understand the perspective of this conversation. And Forrest, we have you to thank for this whole thing. You looked into something and you were like, we got to teach our people this. So how do we come about with all of these different topics that we're building on to give people a better conscious mindset about their finances?
So I want to say about a year ago, I was given an article by a friend of mine, written by a gentleman, Thomas Corley. And I kind of filed it away with a lot of the other articles I get. My intent is to read them. I got paper stacked on top of it, and it found itself at the end of the pile. And during our break in April, I'm cleaning things up. And lo and behold, I find this article, and it's 16 habits. Rich, wealthy people versus poor people. This gentleman, Mr. Corley, he did a study. He's even written a book about it. It was a lengthy study. And what he did is he talked about there were several things that wealthy people do that poor people don't do, or vice versa. And he noticed that there were 16 things that seemed to come across a lot when he dealt with these 177 ordinary people who became multimillionaires. And out of these 177, a very obscure and odd number, but it was 177.
Okay.
And he noticed 16 things that kept coming up. These certain things kept coming up with these 177 ordinary people. And he wrote a article about it in a book. And as we were reading through it, as I was reading through it, it's so tied into what we were talking about January and February with the debt. Where does debt come from? The whole idea of debt. Well, it's habits. What is a habit? A habit is your brain operating on autopilot. In his studies, he said 40% of the things we do on a day-to-day basis, our daily activities, are habits. So if you've developed bad financial habits, that means 40% of the way you deal with your money on a day-to-day basis is done on autopilot. You're not even thinking about it. Kind of like breathing. Like you don't tell yourself to breathe or blink. It just happens.
Right.
So do these bad financial habits.
You know, I'm going to be totally transparent. I did do something naughty, financially naughty. Let me put emphasis on financially naughty. You're right. I jumped back into my old habits. You know, I have this thing of when I get stressed at night, I go through looking at stores, online stores, right? Because it's relaxing for me. And it is very soothing for me to buy myself a gift.
Retail therapy.
A little anxious.
Yeah.
So I just want to say, folks, they're not just talking to you, they're talking to me. But I will say this, I did, for the 30 days that we were off, I did pay attention, and I used the 7-20-10, and I did save quite a bit of money, and I did feel good about how I was managing my money. So, and I will say this, although I did fall back into an old habit, my rule is I can't spend more than $150 on my old habit, right?
Okay.
I didn't go full like before. It'd be like $1,000 bill, and I would be like clicking yes, I want everything. I don't do that anymore. So at least I reduced it. So is that a way of really looking at managing your money? It's like if you're accustomed to, I don't know, dosing yourself up with a big spend of $1,000, if you can start cutting it back a little bit at a time, does that fall in alignment with what you guys are saying about that mindset?
Actually, I think it does. You know, if you were accustomed to spending, I'm going to purchase, take the amount out of it, out of the equation. Whatever I find, I'm buying. That could get expensive. And if that was your habit, and now you've retrained yourself and you've set a limit to it, that's the first step. Second step would be, how often are you going to the internet with that limit? See, we can kind of subterfuge everything. I would make one purchase for $1,000, but now I got a $100 limit. So I'm a low key hit the internet 10 times. So I still hit my $1,000. So the first step, is setting the budget. Now the third step is the frequency in which I do that.
Yeah.
But that's a good step.
Right. You're 100% right. And I did. My thing is, it's I can only spend $150 a week outside of the budget that I've defined working with you guys. So, and I've done that. So, but you're right. And some people may say that too. It's like a little slot machine. So Santana, I mean, the thing is, now when I get to you though, and it's time for me to kind of do my taxes at the end of the year, I can't really write off these little items I'm writing under my business expense.
Well, the first thing is key is that you recognize you had what we consider bad behavior. Yes. So I think you should applaud yourself, first of all, that I did recognize that there are some things. The other thing is to look is what's the trigger to making you do that. Like it's normally a trigger, like if I had a rough day at work, or if I'm bored, and trying not to put yourself in that, or when you're like, okay, I'm going down the wrong road, then let me shift before next thing I know, I'm on the internet buying something. Let me even call a friend up. It's better to call one of your girlfriends up than they go online and do a retail therapy. So it's knowing what things kind of trigger you to go down that road. Once you know that, you kind of stay away from the triggers. It's not the actual action, it's the trigger to the action that you need to identify. So it's more like, hey, all these things about discipline and making the right behavioral decisions. It's no different than some people get upset and then they go get some ice cream. We all cope through different mechanisms.
Right.
Some people coping is the spin. It even happened for young people when they have a bad or good day, then they go to the club and spend a bunch of money. And then they wake up the next day like, why did I do that?
Right.
So knowing the triggers, knowing how you're wired. I once had a client tell me that when you tell me no, it makes me spend more.
Wow.
It makes them want to do it more?
Yes. Because you're reminding me of a season in my life where I had limitations.
Wow.
So
that is so interesting.
Yeah. So it's different things like to sit down to go over the budget and be told that you're out of it triggered the behavior where I'm just going to spend more because I don't want to hear this.
Wow.
And so all different things make people behave different ways, but knowing the triggers, because it's a new buzzword in financial planning arenas called behavioral finance.
Behavioral finance.
Yes. It is when you study for the CFP exam, they now have added a section to the exam for behavioral finance. Yeah. Because the theory is you have to understand how your client thinks about finances before you can help them manage their finances.
It's all interconnected.
Yeah, so you got to put them on the couch. You got to put them on the couch before you give a budget. Let's get on the couch. Let's kind of talk about how you see things, realizing what's your trigger, realizing, are you in denial of your behavior? Sometimes people don't want to really look at what's going on. And sometimes, you have some people that when they invest, maybe they've made a bad investment decision and the investment may have performed well initially. They keep waiting on that same return, and that same return is never going to happen again. And so you need to, it's a lot. Finance is more about mental, how you perceive the money.
Yes.
And what a lot of times it's about what has happened in your past. A lot of people spend money because they're trying to kill the pain of the past. The more money that I spend, the farther I think I'm from when I was broke.
Yeah.
And the other part you have is some people never want to tell people no because they heard no so many times when they were growing up financially. So I don't want to go. We're going the wrong way because we're talking about.
No, but you're right on point. I believe too that women in pocketbooks, purses, I call them pocketbooks. Like how many Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Dolce & Gabbana bags do you need? Like you can't carry them all. But one of the things I always say to people, I have a rule in my house about things that I buy. If I bring in 3 items, I have to get rid of 6. And that means those are 6 items that have to go to a consignment shop so I can sell it. And then that's called monopoly money at that store, right? So when I go there, I can leave my purse in the car and whatever I have on credit is what I spend. So I always tell people there's a lot of ways that you can manage. And like you said, it's the mindset. And I'm going to tell you guys real quick before we go to commercial break, y'all need more money if people sitting on the couch talking about their financial behavior. Y'all going to have to get more money on the books. Yeah. Folks, when we get back, we're going to talk to the financial gurus about what you should be reading to get your stuff together. Because some of y'all not reading and watching the right things. But we're going to talk to the gurus when we get back after this quick commercial break.
My name is Christine Burkett, the inventor of the 5 F's to Love. This is a compatibility app. It's an app that gives you an opportunity to rate words that start with the letter F in chronological order of importance to you, to help you find your one true love, your soulmate, and the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with. So after you've taken the time to rate your Fs in chronological order, you send a link to the person, I don't know, you just met, or the person you've been dating for quite some time. Or maybe it's the person you've been married to for 30 to 40 to 50 years. And then you compare your top 5 Fs to find out what things you have in common and things that you may perhaps need to work on. This is taking a simplistic perspective on how to find your one true love, your soulmate, the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with. And thank you for downloading the 5Fs app.
Hey guys, welcome back. This is the best way to spend Saturday and any day is really getting your money right. Of course, you guys know you're watching the Finance Squad, and it is Saturday, and we have Santana and Forrest. Mordecai will be joining us later. And folks, let me tell you, you need to know what's up with your reading. So what financial reading would you recommend for the viewers to begin to prepare them for financial stability or planning? Because a lot of us don't know that kind of stuff. We're not geniuses like you guys.
You know, as we deal with just the mindset in general, one book, and this is going to make everyone laugh that is older, is Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh my God, I love that book.
That was one of the game-changing books in my life was because, you know, in my experience, and far as you can speak to that, just because you're educated doesn't mean that you have the skill set to be wealthy.
So true.
You know, I say, you know, rich is kind of attached to making a high salary. Wealth is built over time and ownership. Well, what do you think about that? There's a lot of people that make a lot of money so they can be categorized as rich.
Yeah.
Wealthy is the ownership piece. Real net worth most of the time is built from ownership, even when you're buying stock.
Okay.
But
I like to say, oh, I'm sorry, Santana.
Go ahead.
No. I like to say rich dies when you die. Wealth comes alive when you die.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Wow,
He's
say that
preaching.
again.
There you go. He's preaching. He's preaching.
Go ahead, preacher. What'd you say, Forrest? Say that again.
I tell my youngest son all the time, in our conversations, he'll use the term rich. And I'm trying to actually extract that from his vocabulary, because rich will die when he dies. Someone who's rich, when they die, the paycheck stops.
Yes.
Wow.
That's really what rich is. It's a paycheck. I have a very high income. I'm not necessarily deriving that from other sources of reoccurring revenue. That's where wealth is generated from. And that's the wealth that Santana was talking about. So I tell him, rich is going to die when you die. Wealth comes alive when you die.
Wow, I like that. That makes a lot of sense, Santana. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, it's true. I was working with a client, and so they purchased some land, and then the developer came to me and said, "Well, you do know that when I put the permits or the plans on top of the land, that the land may go 3 times the value." And I was like, wow, you know, a 3x. So now this is wealth. This is, you own the land, you have the plans for your design, and now your net worth goes 3 to 4 times what you initially paid for. And these are the things, one of the things I know I like about the Gen Z is they've come up with 3x and 4x. And you know, this stuff was, in our years of growing up, it was just invest, get your 2% return. And now the younger, affluent generation, they're looking for equity plays.
Right.
They don't. So what's almost ironic is, and this is me, they're not as excited about the stock market. They're excited about, because they've heard the Jordans and the LeBrons. You know, Jordan said he owned a portion of Nike, and he didn't take the money, but he got the equity, and the equity has had the numerous splits and all this. So now what we didn't know about building wealth, the younger generation does know, and they're not scared to take the chances.
No.
They don't want base hits. They want home runs.
Home runs.
They want
home runs.
So
yeah.
you're starting to see more that the venture capitalists, and they're teaching it in college. They're teaching, you're getting internships with investment banking and hedge funds and venture capitalists. And so now their exposure is different and their appetite is different. So
you asked a question earlier about reading, and I'm sitting here listening to Santana, listening to my son on some. My son and I have a lot of conversations, and he's telling me about the stuff that he's reading outside of the Bible. Completely different than the things I read. I didn't grow up in an area where I was exposed to the life that I have today. So vicariously, I had to go there mentally. Well, I read about those things that's really what fired me up to dream and then acquaint things. I was really big on reading autobiographies. I felt like if I could identify another person, male or female, black or white, it didn't matter to me, a person who was doing what I wanted to do, then I could do it also.
You know what? I think that's the one thing I do see as a difference. Like, we did a lot more reading in our time because the tech wasn't there. The tech was on the come up, right? And the thing is now, and we were at libraries, like the Dewey Decimal System. My son was like, "What is that?" Right? So I was just like, "This is so funny to me." But the thing is, we basically put ourselves in history books and in situations because we were visualizing ourselves in these spaces. Versus now, these kids can just, like you said, they can just put themselves in there. And they're not even thinking like we were thinking, planning. They were like, "Ain't no plan. I'm going to read this. If it's a good idea, let me do a few little things and I'm in." Like you said, they don't have a big thing with loss. They're like, "Oh, I got time to make it up again. What we doing?"
Right.
And I guess the rich, let's do this right. The rich is so available on the social media platforms. I'm not going to say the wealthy because we don't know if they're going to retain this, but rich is shown in abundance on social media. And a lot of time it's not in our day and time, it was the older, like if you were wealthy, you had gray hair and you had gone to the best university and or your family, you were born into wealth. Now I believe every day $1 million made on social media.
Every day.
I think every day. So a rich person has a new rich person comes over the threshold each day on social media. I'm not very wealthy because
growing up, I thought wealthy was something that you had to wait your turn.
Right.
I thought it was a long term. That was an end game, right? You got to wait your turn to be wealthy. No, today, it can the beginnings of it can come in a month, depending on what it is you're doing. And Santana's right. A lot of that is precipitated by this new social media age.
Yeah.
So do you guys think, like, for me, I look at Susie Ormond, Dave Ramsey, even sometimes Joel Osteen comes up with financial things that he has to say. I'm just tossing out there. He does. Do you think that when our age group and maybe a little bit younger in their 30s, they're still looking at those things versus the younger people? What are they looking at? I even look at CNN and I'm always looking at, okay, obviously I'm a dorker, but I look at a lot of things related to investments. I look at a lot of documentaries. I think I looked at the McDonald's documentary 3 times because I'm thinking like the Apple thing and McDonald's, there's going to be a next. So I'm studying market trends to figure out who's going to be the next so I can get my stock in them now, right? Are the young people, is that something you guys would recommend people do? Or like, what do you recommend people just pick up just to become aware, other than Rich Man, Poor Man, because I do like that one?
I think just what I deal with a large contingency of young clients, and what I tell them to do is you got Yahoo, go online, and their finance section is great. Just once a huh?
Yahoo on your phone, like it's on my phone.
yes. I mean, you can. So we've kind of laid out some. Now, I recommended Bloomberg one time, and
Bloomberg is really good too.
Now my partner said that's a little too heavy, Santana Bloomberg. But what I started doing is watching Bloomberg on Sundays. Like I get to church, I spend an hour or two just watching Bloomberg, and I said,
I know
I'm getting old now that I like just sitting here hearing about this stuff. And you have to do it until it becomes a part of you.
Yeah.
Because here's what happens for the younger, the Gen Zers that gets the money. Then you don't have the true financial behavior to keep the money. Right. So, the Bible says a fool and his money shall part. But it never say a fool can't get money. It just said the fool can't hold on to money.
Right.
So you can obtain it, but you still need these things that we're going to discuss throughout these last two podcasts and this tonight. You still need to make sure you have the right habits.
Correct.
See, now, we've kind of, when we talked about the budget, we kind of beat people up who were dealing with scarcity. Now we're talking about there is a contingency of people that have abundance. Then now you got, having the opportunity without the mindset is a crash course for failure. Because more than just the habits is, do you have the character? We don't talk about much. Do you have the character to be wealthy? I mean, are you going to make the right decisions? Are you mature enough to even manage your resources along with the people that comes with your resources?
That's right.
Yeah. Because it doesn't always feel good when you have to tell yourself no. I want to be clear.
Yeah.
It doesn't always feel good when you have to tell yourself no, and I looked at what you guys were saying, like, every weekend I have a group of girlfriends who go out and, they pop bottles. That's their thing. But to me, I'm not spending $200-300 on a bottle popping when I can go to the store and go get me some peach. I don't talk about my little drink, but my little peach wine, right? That's under $20. Sit on my gazebo and be just as happy. But, to them, that's a big to-do. But my thing is, every dollar I spend there, you guys made a lot of sense to me when you were just talking about $100, $200, $300. Folks, whatever the amount of money that you bring home and you're able to save, at the end of the year, it's better to see it in your bank account where you can call one of these guys and start talking about what next steps are versus, like you said, the people go out to those parties, they spend that money and they regret it the next day. Who wouldn't regret spending $200 or $300 in one night?
But
a lot of times, Chris, what I come across is that individual is an individual. Earlier, we talked about a reality versus a thought that you conjure up in your mind.
Right.
So wealth or riches to them is what they conjure up in their mind, and those are the bottle poppers.
So to them, that is rich. Popping bottles.
Correct. If they actually investigated the time to actually identify a real rich person, a real wealthy person,
they not popping bottles,
and then had conversations with them, the last thing that they're doing is popping bottles. That's with that riches, with those riches and that wealth, there comes a lot of responsibility.
Yes.
I'm not talking about the lotto. Easy come, easy go.
It does.
If you do your due diligence and you find a wealthy individual or the rich individual, and then you sit down and start having conversations with them, there's a reason why they are rich and then wealthy. Yep. And it has very little to do with luck. It doesn't have anything to do with luck.
I like that you said that. Very little to do with that because they're planning. Folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break and we're going to talk about avoiding wasters. I don't even know what that means, but I can't wait to find out because I need to make sure I'm avoiding wasters. I hope I'm not a waster. We'll be right back.
Mom trippin', mom business. Mom trippin', mom business.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.
Loving how you wind up for me. Tonight is all on me. Mash up the place for me. Yeah, yeah. She just wanna highlight. Ooh, that body talk to me. I need a taste, baby. Loving the way you move around me. No more delay. No, you can't wait to shut it down. Won't you show me how you work it? I can't find no flaws, you perfect. Cause every time that you come around my way, I keep falling again. I keep falling again.
Hey guys, welcome back. Yeah, you see Forrest and Santana. You know it's Saturday, so you better get your notebook right out. Because, honey, we try to get that money right. Folks, listen, it's not only making the money. You got to manage the money. In order for you to do that, your mind got to be right.
Yes.
Otherwise, you'll be the working poor. And if you don't want to be the working poor, you better be listening to these guys, because I'm telling you, because if you go see them, it's going to cost you some money. You're getting it free right now. You better listen. So listen, what did you say, Santana?
You know, Christine, the Bible says you can't put new wine in old wine skins. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have to. Why are you laughing?
Because I like it, because it's totally relevant.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want, because the concept is the wine the wine skins begin to leak.
Yeah.
And if it gets old, and so you start losing stuff because it's an older, and so the same concept with your mindset. If you get the money, you get the resources, but you still have an old mindset towards money, the money is going to begin to leak. It's going to leak out. You're going to get to your destination and look in your purse, and half of it's gone.
You're going to have a hole in your pocketbook and all your money falling out through that hole.
That's right.
But you talked about time wasters, so listen, we're right there. I mean, this is kind of unique to me, because I remember when I first started working, I was in Atlanta, and one of my closest friends was a school teacher in Atlanta. And he would get home at 3:00, and I would be at the office till 6, sometimes 7:00. And he always said to me, I don't understand why you work that hard. But while he would sit home, watch TV, just do all kind of things, wasting time. Mm-hmm. Well, fast forward 25 years later, and he's no longer a school teacher, and he's working for a tech company, because he said, I got to get my money up for retirement. So, but he was comfortable wasting time till he had no time to waste.
Wow.
And that's when we're talking about building wealth, when we're talking about being financially secure. Even the government has assessed that when you reach 50, the window is real short. So they've even added catch-up provisions.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
To try to help you, because you wasted time so long.
Right.
So long. So this whole thing about time wasting is serious because wealth is built over time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, time value money, it's built over time. So if you're wasting time watching TV, going out, bottle popping, let's add that, there will be a day of reckoning when
That's right.
your body, your mind, and maybe your employer is saying time is up. And then you have this scorecard. It's called what's in your 401k, what's in your investment account, what business ventures you have. And you want to sustain your current lifestyle, but your assets say no way.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a serious thing about time waste. And I don't know about you, far as when I first started working, I wasted some time because I couldn't fathom this whole thing about putting money in 401k when I don't, at that time, not really having a strong grasp for the market.
Right.
You asking me to put my money away in this nebulous vehicle that one day I'm supposed to wake up and you gave me this illustration, I'm going to have this money. I trust myself to come up with an idea versus putting money in these companies that I know nothing about.
Right.
I do culturally, especially back in the 90s and 80s. Yeah, I mean, you got to think 401k came into play in the 70s?
In the 70s, early 70s.
70s, because 401ks came into play because most companies started to migrate out of doing pension plans.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you worked in the 60s, you could waste time because your company
You're getting a pension.
Your bailout
They had your back.
pension plan.
Yep.
Well, we will be, and this is scary to say, this generation, my generation, will be the first person that only gets to eat what they kill.
Right, with no pensions.
No pension, so we don't know how.
Correct.
Don't know about it, but we don't know how this is going to look in 10 years.
I'm gonna take Santana. You make some valid points, bro. But I'm gonna take time wasting one step further.
Okay.
When I first come into the industry, I found myself doing a lot of things. I was what my grandmother would call busy as a bee, but I was busy doing nothing. It just looked like I was doing something, and I was wasting a lot of time. In hindsight, I could have spent half the energy doing half those things and had twice the result today.
Yeah.
I see a lot of folks involved in a lot of things, just busy as a beaver, and they're doing absolutely nothing. It reminds me of the hamster that's in the cage on that little Ferris wheel, running as fast as your little legs would take you and going absolutely nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Time waster. The things that we are investing our time in, the things that we are investing ourselves in, is there an actual return? And look, that turn can be monetarily, financially. Am I personally getting something from this? Am I spiritually getting something? It doesn't have to be a financial return, but am I actually getting something out of it? Am I working toward a goal, or am I just working for the sake of working to look like I'm doing something?
I think a lot of people are doing exactly what both of you guys said. I really do. I think it's two things happening at one time. People looking like they're doing something, and people were actually just wasting their freaking time watching TV. And that's the sad part about it. And I think, and if you're a single parent, I totally get it. Because, I was a single parent. I took a lot of what I made, put my son through private school. I was focused on him. And then he goes to college. So then I'm focused on him again. So you have a lot of those people who are saying, well, how do I save money if I'm still trying to pay a mortgage, a car note, and my kids in college, and all of this is happening? Folks, I'm going to tell you, you're still making time to go shopping. You're still making time to go to the bar and hang out. All we're saying is, look at some of those dollars you've allocated to that. And I'm not going to say don't go out. I know you need a stress release. My stress release is my yard. People call it an oasis because it's 4 gazebos, it's outdoor TV, surround sound. I spend my time working on my house. I mean, I'm putting in a sink, I'm rewiring a room. So I kind of invest in my domain. I'm not big on drinking. So I'm not a person who goes out and drink. So, but my thing is, if you listen to them, see how you can go out to a happy hour. And then when the happy hour ends, then you leave. Go in there, like with me, I put a max of $150 I'm going to spend. Go in there and say, I'm not spending more than $50 on drinks and whatever, and then be done with it. Because the thing is that, Santana, you are so right. We're the first generation out with no safety net.
Yes.
Other than Social Security, which is going to give you $300. Okay? So if y'all are not living on $300 right now, you better get it together. And this is the one thing that you guys told me, which I'm paying attention to. I'm putting away 20% automatically, right? But my thing is, once I pay down that debt, I'm taking one whole paycheck and just living off one.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I'm listening.
Christine, I did want to talk about before we go to commercial,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the words and emotions. I just say I wanted to just chime in.
That's what we're talking about next when we come back.
Well, I wanted to just, before we go to commercial.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
I think this is critical for those that are trying to build relationships, which lead to becoming wealthy. One of the things as I'm doing business deals, I always kind of talk to my attorneys is how to frame stuff. And one of the things they told me some time ago is once some things you say, the relationship is over. Like if you don't, so a lot of business deals, a lot of business relationships have been totally destroyed because the words that came out can never be taken back.
That's right.
Yeah.
And even though, you know, people who are quiet and intuitive, they hear what you say. They may not respond. But based on what you said, they've already formed a decision whether they're going to move forward with the business. So they say the old adage, loose lips sink ships. I think that's more in business than anything, that if you say something in an emotional moment, you may not be able to get the relationship back.
That's right. You can't pull it back.
Because I've started to learn that sometimes when you do business, you have to realize it's just business. And you're trying to get to an end. Mm-hmm. And then when the negotiation is over, it was just business.
Right.
It was just business.
It was just business, you know, and you can't put your personal feelings in the fact that you're doing business.
Yes.
You don't be respectful. You don't be condescending. But if you're trying to build wealth, as we're talking about, you have to be a steward of relationships.
That's right.
That is 100% true. Folks, we'll be right back after this quick commercial break. We're going to get into the steward of the friendships, and we're going to get into the steward of the business relationships, and we're going to talk about how your words and your emotions can manage your money for you. Honey, I had to cut off my emotions. I could no longer manage my money. I had to shut her down. Folks, we'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
Look at me, I'm on. 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 Can't stop, keep going. Can't stop, keep going. Can't stop, keep going. Can't stop, keep going.
Okay. Hold up. Yeah. I'm chasing a bag, I'm racing the clock. Look at them block, watching them flop. See this in my sleep. When I ain't had shit on my thoughts in the car, I really was lost. Now I'm public with the soundscapes. Niggas floss, I'm really pulling strings for the pound cake. I see you went for a puppet in the clown face for a little wage. That shit, the talk of the town is late. Still me, I never switch sides. Came a long way with the gap.
guys, welcome back. This is pre-recorded, and you know we have the Finance Squad. Be sure to leave any messages for the Finance Squad. If it's directed towards them, you know I will send them, but you can always make an appointment and talk to each one of these guys about your financial future outside of watching the 5F's to Love Finance Squad show every Saturday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Be sure to subscribe and share with your friends, because what we want to do is make sure our community is financially savvy and getting your mind right about your finances. So listen, talk about getting that mind right. I know I'm emotional, especially when it comes to my money, honey. And I will end a friendship over it. No, no, but honestly, you're right. I think when you're doing business and you know the person personally, sometimes it is a little bit of a conflict, and you allow some leeways in that. I have friends who will ask, can they borrow money? I have literally never asked anybody, could I borrow money? I don't even know what that feels like. I don't even know anybody I could call. I feel comfortable enough calling to do that. I always feel like if I put myself in it, then I got to get myself out of it. Figure it out.
Even in college, you didn't borrow money in college. In college you didn't. Yeah, ask your girlfriend for $20 until your mom puts money in the account. Oh wow.
No, I'm one of them chicks. I'm pretty savvy. If all I got is 10, I could eat off of $10 for a whole week in college.
Okay.
I go to the Dollar Tree, get me some tuna with a little mayo, with some relish. Put that up in a little, whip that up. That'll last me 3 days right there. That's $3.
So
you
you're
drink water. I don't have to have a soda.
He said baller on the budget.
A baller on a budget. Because I mean, I just had to learn how to make do. And I think for me, even as an adult, I've never felt like I could call anybody to help me with anything. I just had to figure it out. So I always, my safety net is, girl, you can sell a car, empty out the top shelf pocketbooks. Like when it get down to it, I know where some equity is in the house. I can start finishing. This Chanel necklace could go,
Wow.
They will find some money.
Find some money. That's what you do. But the thing is, you're right. A lot of people, emotions impact their financial future. And I don't like, Santana, like when you said we're the first with no safety net, do you know my chest started to hurt?
I mean, this is in 10 years. Listen, I'm not even the best person that saves. I mean, you're talking about, from what I've seen, some of the most aggressive savers with their 401k gets to the end of the road and they got $400,000 or $500,000.
Yeah.
What? I mean, $400,000. I mean,
what you gonna do with it?
Yes, I mean, you convert that to an annuity for us or something, whatever you decide to do with it. It's still gonna be a major lifestyle adjustment.
Yeah.
You pray to God.
What if you're living in a house, your house is paid for, your cars, that's still not enough, is it?
Yeah, I mean, if you're making $100,000 and now you got to go down to a fixed income of $5,000 or $6,000 a month, that's a major adjustment.
That is a major.
That's so opposed to you leaving after 30. But the flip side of this is nobody's going to stay at a company long enough like they used to walk away with those big pensions.
They're not.
No.
The financial advisors used to hang around the bigger companies in Jacksonville because they knew at the retirement date that somebody would have a big rollover. So you used to have some advisors just camp out and just do a rollover and make this lump sum each year because of the pensions. Well, now you're rolling over a 401k, and then the reality is when you come to retirement, people want to take vacations. They want to do this. I want to do some things to my house and all this. And they don't even want to roll over the full amount because now is the point that I've dreamed of.
Yeah.
That I'm now should be able to live. I know you've heard all this before. I'm able to live now, but if you live now, you might be living later in terms of financially. And it's a tad bit scary what's going to happen in 10 years. Coupled with you don't know what Social Security is going to be at.
It's going to be $3.
So, you know,
That.
about this thing about conversation and emotions is that some of those same people may need to forge new business ventures to sustain their lifestyle.
Yeah.
Well, you know, some of those people have been executive CEOs and they've used to just being a little condescending and talking to any kind of people any kind of way. Well, when you get out of here in this entrepreneurial world, you're gonna have to learn how to eat some humble pie.
Hmm.
Especially if it's a new industry that
Mm-hmm.
you have not penetrated before, you're gonna have to learn how over the last 18 months, I've entered two business ventures. And I have had it's been the most unlikely business partners.
Mm-hmm.
But I went in there with humility and said, "Hey, this is a new venture, and I need relationships to even sustain while we figure this out."
Right.
And because I was measured with my words, and the relationship got off, and those two main relationships, they were with actual presidents of companies.
Wow.
And those two presidents have stayed the course while I learned the new business ventures. But so you know, you just can't come in there and say anything and think that because you're in one sector important, it doesn't make you important in the next sector.
In the next sector.
Yeah.
Santana makes a good point about he had the meeting with the individuals in a sector different from his, understanding that that's their lane, that's what they do. So I'm gonna show some humility, open my ears, close my mouth. You know, I read somewhere, I heard somewhere, you are the sum of 5 or 6 of your most closest relationships. He's developing new relationships in different business genres and endeavors. That's actually going to take Santana to the next. There's levels to this. Take him to the next level. If I'm the sum of my 5 or 6 closest relationships, I want to be particular about who those relationships are based on what it is I want and where I want to go. There's some selfishness to all of this. And then 2, how do I cultivate them? And the quickest way to get somebody to leave you alone, to turn them off, is speak to them in a way that they deem disrespectful. Quickest way to sabotage your relationship is open your mouth and let the wrong thing fall out.
Yep. Right. I agree with you 100%. I'm glad you said that. I think culturally for us, we automatically come off like the authorities. We're very aggressive or offended when people say things. And I have to always be conscious and aware of that, even before I say anything, even though I'm not that type of person to even get offended. I have to be conscious and aware because that term of angry Black woman is frequently used. So even I have to watch, even if I disagree slightly with someone, I really just have to say what I'm going to say, right? Yeah. But I think I had to say to a person the other day, my girlfriend owns a clothing store. And on the weekends, I go and I dress her mannequins with all new outfits. And one woman came in there and she says, "Aren't you Christine Burkett?" And I said, "Yes. Hi, how can I help you?" I said, "Do you need help with anything?" She said, "Do you own this store?" I said, "No." She said, "Well, you work here?" I said, "I'm a seasonal employee, yes." She said, "But you have your own IT company." I said, "Yes, ma'am, but this is my best friend."
That's right.
And so as they're building their business, if I know how to do something, why wouldn't I lend my expertise? My mother had a clothing store. When I was in college, I was a certified window dresser, honey, from Macy's. Don't fool with me, okay? So my thing is, it's relaxing for me to be outside of my element. I got headsets on and I'm dressing these mannequins, but it's amazing how people approach me and they were like, as if they were disgusted with me that I would even do because of your stature. And the thing is, I could have got emotional about it. I did. You know what I said? This is what you do when you have someone in your life who you support. See, even if I was the president, I would still be like, security, I'm in here, y'all walk around, I'm about to do these mannequins, because that's my friend. Do you get what I'm saying? So I think a lot of times in our culture, we associate what we do with a certain tone. And I think that hurts us. Do you think that hurts us when we do that?
Or we associate what we do with who we are.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Yes. Yeah. Like I just think I'm just Chris at the end of the day. If Santana called me and said, Christine, listen, we thinking about opening up a branch in Michigan, I would be out there with a realtor. Like, I'll be like, look, all right, Santana, where you want me to look? Okay. Christine, you know what? Let me go clean that building up. You coming in town with investors? You got it. Let me go clean that building up. Let me go find some rental furniture. Let me stage it. And then when he show up, I'll be like, here's the keys. I got a caterer coming. You good. I wouldn't be like, Santana, I'm the CEO of my own company. What you doing? I would never do that because I want him to be successful.
Some of that also, Chris, is you don't have the crabs in the barrel mentality.
No.
Some of that isn't, I'm better than you. Some of that is, I'm just going to hate on you for a little while. I really don't want to see you do better.
But why do we do that in our culture? Why do we do that?
Well, here's the reality of what I'm starting to realize is one is everybody wants to get out of the barrel, go into your verbiage.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so when it looks like your head is going to peek out into the sunlight before mine.
Yeah.
I can't be mature enough to push you up out of it.
Wow.
I'm more comfortable pulling you back down in it. Now that's good. I am more comfortable because I got two choices. If I'm a crab in a barrel, I got two choices if you're coming out. I can help you get out easier, or I can pull you back, try to pull you back down. The natural inclination, unfortunately, is just to pull you back down.
Wow. Well, you know what? I have to say, I think that's why all of us are doing what we do. There's nothing I wouldn't do to help you guys. It doesn't make a difference what it is. If you decided tomorrow you wanted to do something, you called me and said, Christine, I would be like, what we got to do, send me the outline. Let's make it happen. Because I kind of think that for me, when we look back at history books, and it's so funny, I'm going back to reading. We saw people at a time do all of these things in history when it was racism, when it was just so many obstacles in their way and a lack of education and access. But then when I was like, well, how did Carver do this? How was he the only Black scientist in this situation? Why would they listen to him? And I said to myself, I want to be one of those people in the history book. So what I'm going to say to you guys is my emotions and my words mean everything to me. And if you call me, it's not Christine, a CEO, or Christine this or Christine that. You're talking to Chris, who wants to see another Black person be successful. Because to me, if I could be a credit to anything that you're doing, to me, that's part of my legacy. So to me, that whole thing of, I always tell people, you know, God is not a magician. He's not a genie in a bottle. But I do believe in the universe. What you put out is what you get back. That's the reason why anytime anybody calls me, one of my very best friends, Precious, who's on Real Talk with the Ladies, she speaks all over the country. You know, she picked up the phone and said, I don't have anybody to develop my workbook for my training. You know what I said to her? It's not a problem. I spent an entire weekend and rescheduled so I can create her training manual. Do you know she's gotten 8 contracts?
Wow.
And everybody's like, who created all this stuff for you? In turn, I got contracts.
Right.
And in turn, she pays me, right? But I told her don't pay me. And the reason why I did it was because she's my friend and I want her to be successful. You know, she's in San Francisco right now. So the thing is, folks, what they're trying to tell you is a couple things. We're going to wrap this up, is that you all need to make sure that your mind is right about your money. You need to understand if you could be a professional. They said it. You could be a professional. I'm not an expert. They the experts. That's right. Why I did their 70-20-10. Can y'all tell them real quick if they're just joining us what that 70-20-10 is?
10-20-70. Tie 10%. 20. Save 20%. And then 70. Live on the rest.
Folks, and all they did was say that to me. We went through the budget. So if you missed it, watch January, February, March. You'll understand. I used it for 30 days and I'm still using it. I had to create my Excel spreadsheet. And if you can't, you can use the budget sheet that's there. But folks, it works. If you listen to them, you can remove the emotions from managing your finances. All I got to say is this is the Finance Squad. These guys are experts in their field. If you missed a commercial, we're talking to a vice president and a president. I don't even know why y'all fooling with it. And you don't meet too many black folks that got their money right like they do. Guys, as I always say, it has been a blast. I enjoy spending my Saturday nights with you, by the way. I don't even want to act like I don't, because I walk away happy. Plus, I can take that tithes check on Sunday.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, guys, thank you so much for another great Finance Squad. Folks, get your money right. And don't forget, we'll be back next week. We're going to start the conversation about the impact of financial stability on your future. We're going to really talk that through, because that's a much bigger conversation. And we're going to talk about all the different tools and resources that you can use to start working towards that goal. So, folks, we'll see you back next Saturday with Forrest, Mordecai, and Santana on what? The Finance Squad. See you guys.
Goodbye.
Have a good evening.